the Rumi deck. And I even, before I teach, I always sit next to my pile of cards and just run my hand along this pile. And usually I feel like to stop at a certain deck, if that makes sense. And that was today the Rumi deck. Now, as that goes into more the philosophical part of what we're doing here, all of these are relating to these other aspects of yoga that we sometimes need to dive in that little bit deeper. And I think sometimes this card, or the theme that comes up with this card, is that bit that we can choose to go deeper in our understanding of ourselves as we practice. Not just the physical postures, but maybe including some of those thoughts into these parts of our practice. So let us begin by lying down on the back. And please do choose to support yourself if you feel that is something to do for you. So as you're lying down, you could allow a bit of a bolster under the knees, or just step your feet onto the ground if that's too much hassle for now. Allow the arms to either fall away from the body or rest them somewhere onto the body where you feel you might need a little bit of nurturing. So making a choice here if that feels right for you. And as you come to rest there, let's just simply notice that we all are blessed with gravity that holds us down, maybe even helps us to ground. Although we sometimes want to jump and leap away from that ground, it could still be comforting to know that we can always come back to it. Allowing ourselves to trust in that ability to feel grounded. As you're resting here, please also notice how the body feels. Does it feel restful or restless? Is there anything that you notice in your body right now as in sensations? It could go into tension or discomfort, but it might also just go into softness and warmth. Noticing and storing this information for your practice. And as I read the relevant poem that came with the cards today, I invite you to breathe a little bit more deeply, keeping the breath flowing in and out of your nose, while you are allowing either just a random deeper breath in and out that finds its natural pattern that suits you, or even going into full yogi or ujjayi breath. There's never an obligation to listen to any of these words. If they don't sit right with you, just bring your awareness back to the flow of your breath. Layla, put aside your clever schemes. O lover, be mindless become mad. Dive into the heart of the flame. Become fearless. Be like a moth. Turn away from the self and tear down the house. Then come and dwell in the house of love. Be a lover. Live with lovers. Clean your chest from all hostility. Wash it 7 times. Then fill it with the wine of love. Be a chalice for love. Be a chalice. You must be all love to be worthy of the beloved. When going to the gathering of drunks, be drunk. Become drunk. Your thought takes a course dragging you in its wake. Move beyond thought. Let your heart lead. Be the leader. When the grace of love is revealed, be a mirror to reflect it. When the beloved's hair is loosened, brush it like a comb. Be a comb. By Rumi. We all interpret these poems differently, and it's perfectly fine to work with your interpretation or what you feel comes across for you. It might even take us back to a previous practice where we are bringing in this light to dispel the darkness that we might hold within. Or just simply bringing in more love. To begin our movements, I'm inviting you, if your knees are bent, to extend the legs. Maybe to let your legs open that little bit wider, beyond the width of the mat. To then take a breath in and stretch the arms up over the head, and extending the arms a bit sideways. So the arms are a fair bit wider than shoulder distance apart. Lying here wide open, knowing that the ground is still underneath you to support you, to hold you. And as your neck's breathing in, stretch down into your toes and up into the fingers, and hold this for a moment, including your breath. And as you're exhaling, just soften into the arms and into the legs as they are right now. I invite you to repeat that a couple of times. A deep breath in as you're stretching into the length, and for some, maybe even lifting arms and legs slightly off the floor, holding together with the breath, and then softening as you're exhaling. And you might choose to do that another time, that deep breath where you're holding the breath at the end, full stretch out, maybe a lift of arms and legs if you're feeling very strong today. And then maybe even a sigh to relax. Sliding your arms down by your sides, bringing your feet back onto the floor, and then your knees in towards the chest as you might give them a loving embrace. Just hugging the knees in for a moment. Allowing on the next breath in to open the arms. Now you can leave your feet off the floor or ground them down. Please notice what feels right as we're moving our knees from side to side. You can find your own breathing pattern here. And there's not even a rule of whether to breathe in or out as you're moving the legs to the side. Just exploring what feels better, to use the strength and the release of the out breath or the length of the in breath. I invite you, once you've done so evenly to each side, to bring the arms a little bit lower, keeping them still away from the body, but turning the palms of the hands now down onto the ground and allowing you to feel the ground underneath the hands. If your feet were on the floor, lifting them again off the ground, extending the legs up towards the ceiling. And you might for a moment just move through the feet and the ankles. There's a choice now to leave your legs extended. If this is too strong, feel free to bend your knees. I will ask you, as you're breathing out, to draw on your lower abdomen with that the pelvic floor and bring the legs a little bit down and away from you. And as you're breathing in, you're lifting them back up, maybe even drawing them up towards your chest. And on the out breath, moving them away. Now, some of you will bring the legs down quite close towards the floor. Others will keep them a fair bit away, like myself. So maybe choosing your range of movements according to what you can find out about this movement for yourself. And you might decide to have your feet pointed or flexed or play around with both. Firing up or kindling that fire within the tummy. And once you've completed that, please bend your knees and give them another squeeze in towards your chest. I'm asking you now to step your right foot down, to take a breath in as you're extending your left leg to the ceiling and your arms over your head. If you like, can you make fists over the head and fold the thumb into the palm and wrap the other fingers around your thumb as if you are holding onto the thumb. Unless it is uncomfortable for you in the shoulders, in that case you can soften the arms. Have your arms fully actively extended. Now flexing your left foot, and with a quite fast out breath, still the activation of the core, let the leg bounce towards the floor. Breath in, bring it up. Breath out, bring it down. This is quite a fast movement, and I invite you to 2 more. Then pause your leg up there. Bend your elbows so arms come out to cactus arms. Maybe extending the right leg. And if you prefer, you can bend the left knee. Otherwise, let the straight leg now swing from side to side. We're allowing here the pelvis to roll unless you feel any discomfort in your back. And then inviting the leg to pause for a breath in the open. And then to pause for a breath, and please feel welcome to bend again in the twist. then we'll all bend the left leg and place the left foot down onto the ground. Let's repeat on the other side. As you're inhaling, extend your leg and extend your arms over the head. Feel free to come back into the fists where the thumb is included, to hold on within the palm of the hand. Flexing the right foot. And again, we'll bounce the leg towards the floor, starting to activate the pelvic floor or the lower abdomen as you're bouncing down. But it's quite fast, the way you're moving. The leg will almost throw it down to just off the ground, if that feels good. And in the end, keeping the leg lifted, starting to bend the elbows as you're releasing, and maybe extending the left leg out. Going into the swinging movement, so let the leg come out to the side and swing it across. Either you're leaving your leg long now, or you're bending your knee. So finding your way of moving across the body. Beautiful. And then as you find your balance, I will ask you to hold the leg outside for a full breath. And across the body for a full breath, legs straight or bend. Before you center again, placing your right foot onto the ground and then the left as well. Pausing here, the arms might come that little bit lower to soften into the shoulders, and allowing yourself to close the eyes, feeling into your body. Bringing then both knees in towards the chest, and if you like, you can give them a hug. You could rock a bit from side to side. And either dropping over to one side to find your way up, or rocking forward and backwards to find your way up. And if that feels good, you can do so for a few rounds. I'd ask you from this place then to find your way onto your feet. So maybe tucking the toes under. And if that feels all right for you, coming into a squat. And we're staying quite close towards the floor. If your knees are a little bit troubled, you can keep your squat a bit higher. It's perfectly fine to turn the toes outwards if you like. Now we'll move in and out of this squat. As I ask you to breathe in and stretch the arms up. And as you're breathing out, as if you're pulling yourself up into standing. Breathe in, stretch the arms back up. And now we're pulling ourselves down as you're making fists returning into your squat. Breathing in to stretch to the ceiling. Breath out as you're pulling yourself up. So have strong arms too, not just strong legs. Inhale, stretching up. Exhale, pull yourself down into your squat. Breathing in, reach the arms up. Breath out, pull yourself up to stand. We'll go for another round. Inhale, stretch to the ceiling. Exhale, pulling down into a squat. Inhale, stretching up. Exhale, pulling up into standing. Let's turn our feet forward. Taking a breath in to lift the arms up nice and tall. And as you're breathing out, make the fists again, but bend only your knees and come into a chair pose. Breathing in to stretch up, and there's an invitation for a light back bend. Breathing out and pulling into the chair. Only one more here. Inhale and exhale into chair. Breathing in again now to stand up nice and tall. Open your arms and stretch them out wide. Pointing your right big toe onto the ground. Coming into star pose if that suits as you lift the foot off the floor. Find a light lift of the corners of your mouth to a smile. And as you land the foot down, give yourself a little hug around the shoulders. And you might choose to tuck the chin in for a moment. Maybe feeling the heartbeat. Connecting to your heart center. As you next inhale, open the arms again. Poking your left big toe onto the ground. And either staying there or lifting the foot off the floor. Finding this beautiful extension within the balance. And extending your lips as well. Even if you're not feeling like it, give it a shot. Landing the foot down, and if your body remembers now, giving yourself another embrace just the other way around. And if it felt good, lower the head a bit. Turn your attention back into the heart center. On a breath in, let's lift the arms, maybe the gaze for another mini back bend if that suits. And then have a long, slow out breath to release your arms. You might give the body a little bit of movement, shrugging or moving through the shoulders. And I invite you then to step your feet out quite wide. If the surface beside your mat, if the mat is facing forward, is a little bit slippery, you might either turn yourself sideways or turn the mat around. So allowing the toes now to point away. On a breath in, let's extend the arms back out towards shoulder height. Turn the palms of the hands forward. And as you're breathing out, bending a little bit to one side. Inhale, center yourself. Exhale, bend a little to the other side. And we'll repeat that as we're moving into the sides of the body, creating some space here. You could turn the gaze to, as you might look either up or down towards your hand. When you're next feeling even to either side, center yourself again, and on an out breath, release your arms. We will bend both knees now, sinking down in towards a squat. Let your hands come to rest on top of your thighs. Start to lean your body a little bit forward. You can keep your toes pointing outwards or forward, but please feel into the knees what is right for you. Always keeping the knees in alignment with the toes to avoid any twist there. While you're inhaling now, open your front body. And as you're breathing out, round into the cat. Breathing in to open the front. Breathing out to round the back. Now stay with this movement for a few. Find your own breathing pattern. If it feels right, you can briefly pause at the end of the inhalation in that openness of the front body. Go for another round after you finish the current. Then pause for a moment in the rounded back, but you could continue your breathing. And from the rounded back, coming to a more neutral spine. Resting your right forearm down. As you're taking a breath in, let's extend the left leg and the left arm coming up, maybe even extending your gaze. And as you're breathing out, bend both knees, other forearm down as well. Let's extend on the inhale, extend the right leg, lifting the arm, your gaze. On the breath out, forearms to the thighs or your hands if that is too deep. Inhaling to extend. Exhaling to center. Stay with that for a few more breaths. Go within the body, combination of movement and breathing. Once more to each side. Once we're centered within the squat, press down into the legs as you take a breath in, reaching all the way up. And then a slow out breath to release your arms. Now let's turn the right toes outwards and maybe the left heel in the other direction. Finding a way into Trikonasana as you breathe in, lifting the arms out to your sides. And as you're breathing out, finding the pose. So one arm now reaching down, one reaching upwards. We might come into a hold here. So your choice would be to lift the gaze, keep it neutral, or lower the gaze. Feeling into the neck as we might stay here for a few breaths. And there's now a choice also of extending your lower arm forward, leaving the palm of the hand facing upwards. And if your neck allows you to, even looking into the palm of this hand, aiming to keep length in the sides of the waist while you're quite unsupported. Releasing this lower arm again, but keeping your posture and your inner strength. And then we will slowly unfold it by curling in the top hand fingers, the wrist, the elbow, and releasing our gaze down towards the right foot while the palms of our hands are now touching. As you keep your gaze down for now, breathe in and out. And as you're next breathing in, open the top arm again, returning into your triangle. And let's flow that for a moment as you're exhaling, curl your arm in, palms to touch, gaze moving down. Inhaling there to open. So don't use my pace, find your pace. Repeating this same movement another 2 times. We will finish with the palms touching the gaze down, and I will ask you to bend into your right knee, to lift the left heel, to place the left knee down onto the ground, sliding the right one back and coming into extended child's pose. With your next breath in now, rolling up onto your hands and your knees, centering yourself here on all fours. Keeping your knees about hip distance apart. Feel quite strong in the arms. If hands flat doesn't suit you, there's always an opportunity to be on the fists instead. Now, as you're taking your next breath in, let's extend the left leg back, pointing out into the toes. And as you're breathing out, bring the knee and the nose towards each other, rounding the back. Inhaling, bring length into leg and spine. Exhaling, bringing your knee in towards the chest. Do that again, breathing in and breathing out. Extending your leg once again, this time flex the foot and land the tucked under toes onto the mat. Your choice is to stay here or extend the other leg as well, coming into a full plank pose. Maybe you're in a full kneeling plank. On your next out breath, then lower down onto your mat. Untuck your toes. Grounding down through the tops of the feet, take a breath in and come into Cobra. Hold the Cobra, engaging into the glutes, maybe the hands coming off the ground. Notice the change in your breathing pattern. Stay with the back bend, 2 more breaths. After that last breath, release to the mat. Then come onto all fours. Tuck your toes under and stretch your hips back towards your heels. Breathing into all fours. Breathing out to down dog. Inhaling onto all fours. And you might flatten out the feet if you prefer. Exhaling, extended child's pose. Inhaling all fours, toes tuck under and breath out for down dog. Stay with this simple flow for another 3 rounds. So we're moving between child's pose, all fours, and downward dog. As you're finding your own pace, and I invite you to finish this pose or movement rather in a tucked under child's pose, which means you leave your toes tucked under and you're stretching back towards the heels. Pause here, reach forward, be active in the arms. So the forearms might be off the floor. Your shoulders, they're dropping right back into their sockets, creating some space around your neck and ears and in the upper back. Let your hands slide back towards your knees. Lift the knees off the floor. Now this might be familiar here as we're coming back into our squat from which we started our standing practice. Again, your choice to have less bend in the knees and stand a bit taller. Let's breathe in and stretch the arms up. Pull yourself up as you're breathing out into standing. Inhale, stretching up, mini back bends are welcome. Breath out as you're pulling back down into your squat. Inhale, stretch to the ceiling. Exhale, pull yourself up. Do that one more time. Breathe in. Breath out. Inhale. And exhale to pull yourself back up into standing. Now, as we're standing again, let's step the feet out nice and wide. And maybe the toes are pointing back towards the corners of the mat, wherever they've been before. As we're taking a breath in, let's reach the arms back out to shoulder height. Make sure the shoulders are actually relaxed in this position. And I sometimes struggle with fully extended arms. So there's that opportunity of softening through the elbows. Now you would have started to your favorite side. Let's now move to the other. As you're breathing out, finding a side bend. Inhale, center. And again, we keep that moving. Now your choice is to look up or down, moving into the neck together with your side bend. Your choice in which direction. Now, when you're next in balance, please pause in the standing posture. Then take a deep breath and stretch your arms up. Now we're using fists of fire, similar as when we're pulling down, bending the knees into goddess pose. At the same time, pull your elbows into the sides of the waist. So strong arms and legs again. Inhale, extending. Exhale and pull down. Now, while you're doing that, you can choose to breathe out of nose or mouth. The mouth might have the benefit of engaging a bit deeper into your core muscles. And as you're exhaling now, drawing in through the lower abdomen. Roughly the same length for in and out breaths. Really opening through the hands and then pulling in with quite strong fists and arms. After you've finished your next one, when you come to stand, let's reach the arms back out to the sides. Turning your left foot forward and your right heel into the other direction. Breathe in here. And as you're breathing out, finding your triangle. So please notice, how is the front knee feeling, your left knee? Is it locked? Can you slightly unlock it? Can you feel the support of the feet on the ground? There's always an option for arm variation if you've got shoulder problems. Your next variation for the lower arm is to extend it forward and look into the palm of your hand. We might not all be suited to this posture. It's quite strong to hold, maintaining the length in the torso. Observing the breath as that might change. And then let's release the lower arm again. Bring it back into the position, but change nothing in what you're feeling there in the body. From here, we will curl the top hand fingers in, then the wrists, then the elbow, then the shoulder, touching the palms of the hands together, looking down. Pause here for the length of a breath. And then come into the flow. As you're breathing in, open up the triangle, and if you choose, you can follow the hand with the gaze. As you're breathing out, curl your arm back in, touch the palms of the hands. Breath in to open. And breath out to lower. I invite you to find again your own breathing pattern and pace. And when you finish this round, add another 2. We will meet again with the palms touching. As we're looking down, we're bringing to bend into the left knee, taking the hands to either side, lifting through the right heel. Then place the right knee down onto the mat and do the same with the left, and stretching back into an extended child's pose. Breathing in as you come onto all fours. Set yourself up again, knees about hip distance apart, hands about shoulder distance apart, head lightly lifted, so that we've got a neutral spine to begin with. We'll stretch the right leg back this time as we breathe in. And on the out breath, then bringing nose, knee together underneath the body, rounding the back. Inhaling for extension. Exhaling to curl in. Stay with that. Find your pace. And when you're next extending, we will pause, flexing the foot so the toes are pointing down, and then landing the toes tucked under onto the mat. Again, it is your choice to stay here, to have both knees on the ground, or to extend both legs once more into a plank. So we've got now a kneeling or full plank pose. Moving down towards the ground on your next exhalation, releasing once again your toes. If the cobra is your favorite back bend, why not? Otherwise, let your arms lengthen down by the sides. Turn the palms of the hands to the mat and the thumbs with that pointing away from your body. And as you breathe in, lifting through head, chest, legs, and arms. Your choice is to stay there for a few breaths. Please mind how far you're looking upwards. Think of your neck as an extension of the curve of the spine that you are able to achieve, so that we're not shortening the back of the neck too much. We're keeping a curve that flows quite natural. Now, I hope you're breathing happily. And then with the next exhalation, let's release that. Place the hands back down by the sides of your lower ribs. Bring yourself up to all fours. Tuck the toes under and sit towards your heels. Pause here for a moment. It could be a slightly softer variation of child's pose. With the support of the toes tucked under, there remains a bit of a natural lengthening across your lower back. Allowing the arms to activate again. Breathing in, all fours. Breathing out, down dog. Inhaling all fours, and if you choose, you can flatten the feet. Breath out to extended child's pose. Maybe you remember this movement pattern, all fours to down dog and all fours to child's pose. Flow it again in your own pace. This time, however, I invite you to come and pause in down dog when you're next getting there. It is absolutely your choice. If you're comfortable with jumping, you can even jump forward to the top end of the mat. For that, you would come into a downward facing dog squat position and then use the end of the exhalation to come forward. Otherwise, you can walk or step your feet forward. At the top end of your mat, bring your hands against your shins or thighs and lengthen forward into a half lift on the in-breath. And as you're breathing out, folding all the way back down. Repeat that couple of times. Inhaling, edge of your waterfall. Exhaling, knees soft will fold. One more. I'll ask you then to bend your knees more deeply. Get the arms into a swing forward as you're breathing in. So we're in a lovely chair pose, and breathe out to sit that little bit lower into it. As we breathe in, push into the feet, extend the front of the body, and then have a sigh to release that. You might want to step yourselves once more a little bit wider open and maybe staying on the mat again. Turning the toes back outwards and aligning knees and toes with each other. I will ask you to take a deep breath in to stretch all the way up. To have a sigh as you're bending your knees. Keep the spine long and swing your arms like wings out to the sides. Breathing in, push into the legs, extend your body. Breath out as you come back to the wings. So to keep the spine nice and tall on each out breath, again, please activate the lower belly to support. Do so just once more. Breathe in. And breathe out, holding your wings. Now, while you might hold your wings, I will ask you to shift the weight towards the right foot. Coming into a seagull pose. If you like, you can take the left foot off the floor and place your heel just on top of the thigh above your knee. Holding the spine long, stretching into the fingers. Maybe finding some balance. And as you're next inhaling, keep the knee lifted, reach the arms up, and then step back out into your stance and release the arms. Maybe shoulders need a bit of movement or rocking over the feet to ground back through both of them. Let's lift the arms again, inhaling. Bend your knees and spread your wings on your out breath. Hold. Shifting the weight now over towards your left foot. And there's the option of peeling the right foot off the floor and landing your heel on top of the thigh. Keeping the spine long, the wings spread out. Maybe you can achieve a little bit of balance. Maybe it's more of a wobbly flight. Let's lift the knee and the arms, breathing in. And again, we will step out nice and wide, releasing the arms. Now for our last standing pose, let's turn the heels a bit out. Maybe widening the stance and bringing the outer edges of your feet parallel with those of the mat. While you're breathing in, open the arms out again. Bend your knees, and as you're exhaling, make your way down into a wide-legged standing forward bend. Now your choice is entirely yours with the hands. You can place them somewhere to the outside of your leg. You can slide your fingers under the outer edges of the feet, or place the hands into the center. Relax the neck though. So your gaze comes behind you, and the weight is slightly forward within the feet. The tailbone nice and high, the shoulders a little bit lifted. Now stay here, breathe. Just a few more breaths. Maybe you're able to return to the deeper breathing pattern from the beginning of the practice, maybe. Only 2 more breaths. Once you've completed these 2 breaths, please do bring your hands down somewhere underneath your shoulders. Heel and toe your feet in a little bit more so you can place your knees down onto the floor. Keeping the knees at about hip distance apart, your hands might slide a bit closer in towards the knees. If to bring the head down doesn't suit your body, please keep yourself here or lower into child's pose instead. Otherwise, tuck the chin in and place the crown of the head down. So we've got a tripod stance there. Some of you know where this could go. I won't tell you if you don't. This is a perfect position to be in. Elbows are stacked over the wrists, and we bring a light lift into the shoulders, and just allowing that gentle stimulation on the crown of the head. If you feel you can take this safely deeper and you know how to, please feel free to do that. Allowing your head to be low for a few breaths. And when you feel it is enough, we will at the end meet in a gently supported child's pose, where we might have the forehead resting onto stacked hands or fists. Noticing how you're feeling in this shape, noticing the breath flowing. And I will ask you from here to find your way down onto your back. And if you need to grab a few things of clothing or support, please do take them. As we're making our way down onto the back with little disturbance of the body as is possible. I would ask you, once you're lying there, before you're propping things underneath you, to just inquire into your own body. What does it feel like? What could be the last movement or posture for you right here and now? It could be as simple as a full body stretch, or another rocking with the knees hugged into the chest. Just notice. Following what the body is telling you. Allowing maybe yet another breath before taking your body into resting pose. As I said, please feel free to support yourself as much or as little as you like. Returning the awareness to the body and gravity, helping you to be grounded. before you might bring the awareness to the gentle flow of each breath. Either staying with the awareness of the flow of your breathing, or listening to a few more words, maybe an interpretation of the poem. How I long for my thoughts to no longer make any sense to me. Then I can be rid of them, like noisy house guests who have overstayed their welcome. Oh, the peace when they finally go. Their incessant chatter brings me no comfort. I crave the silence of you. Will you let me hear it? Will you run through the noisy house of my mind with your great muddy feet, so that I can focus on something other than my mind for a while? Maybe you can make such a mess that I shall give up my plans and attempt at order completely. Just give in for a change. It's time for that. To give up my ridiculous fantasies of perfection. Useless, noisy, irritating, demanding, and yet deadening perfection. I'd rather just be alive. I want to plant my head in the earth, in the same mud that sticks to your feet, and breathe in her rich soil smell. I want to feel her heart beating in the quiet moments of the roots of the plants as they stretch and grab and stop my ears with their fertile dirt. Finally gaining peace from the constant infernal racket of thoughts no longer wanted. Allowing your awareness to return into your body, deepening your breathing, gently at first, and then that little bit more. Maybe adding a bit of movement or stretching. Preparing the body to rise into a seated pose. If it is available to you, you can keep the eyes closed in the process or close them again as you come to sit. Or maybe you're just steadying your gaze. I invite you to take a deep breath in and reach your arms out nice and wide. And as you're breathing out, to give yourself that extra hug. And maybe tucking your chin back in, looking down to your own heart space. When you take your next breath in, reach your arms out wide, maybe even lift your chin. And as you're breathing out, give yourself another hug, but this time take everyone else into this hug as well. Either stay there or bring your hands to touch in Anjali Mudra in front of the chest. While we're holding maybe even each other in this loving embrace in our minds and hearts. We're extending with a light bow. Namaste.